Welcome to the Soul Archaeology podcast, a space for connection, resonance, witnessing, and learning. Together we'll harvest medicine from the spiral of life, sharing conversations with other embodied humans who have navigated their own initiations and found alignment with their true soul essence. With weekly astrology, energy updates, embodied conversation, and channeled teachings, this is a space for you to land and find resonance with the spiral of your own soul. Hello, welcome back to Soul Archaeology. Wow, this has been like rapid fire. It feels like this energy has just been so wild. I'm thinking wildfire, especially with Mercury's retrograde, so much activity in Leo, the powerful 8/8 activation, all of the extra light that's streaming through the planet, through our consciousness. It feels like it's just moving so quickly, transmuting so much. It's like wildfire. This can really kick up anxiety. It can kick up fear, anticipation, but it's so helpful. It's so revealing. So it's really on us to resource, to anchor, ground, to be able to feel and experience what's being revealed, and to pull it into our truth channel and anchor it through and into the earth. We're like spiritual ninjas right now. I mean, we are Jedis. So we're doing this dance. This is the time. We've been building towards this. I wanted to just take a moment to thank everyone who participated in the giveaway and who participated in just showing your support of the podcast over the last few weeks, over the last year. I can't believe we're in the second year of this journey. It's just been so wonderful, and I'm so grateful. I've been reflecting a lot on the synchronicities of starting this podcast and my midheaven in Leo and my Mercury in the 12th house and what I'm really, really here to do as a person, as a human. And it just feels so deeply in alignment to be speaking to all of you and communicating with all of you through this channel. So thank you for your presence and for your dedication to yourself and to your own journey. I know that's why so many of you show up to this podcast, because you're doing the work. So thank you. Congratulations to Sarah Beth Barrett, who lives in Canada and won the giveaway. So she'll be receiving the gift box, the free one-on-one session with me, and the ammonite necklace from Pound Jewelry. Thank you so much, everyone else who participated. I'll be sending out little thank you notes to you, and I'm just so grateful for everyone that tunes in. So now we get down to business. This week is something that many of us have been anticipating, either consciously or unconsciously, for quite some time. It's funny because I feel like the astrological climate of the last 5 years especially has been so wild and so dynamic, and it's really true. And much of it has been led by a theme we'll be discussing this week, which is the relationship and dance between Jupiter and Saturn, and how these two giant cosmic bodies support our evolutionary processes. And one of the main themes we'll be seeing for the rest of August is around realizations and pacing, timing. Saturn rules time. It paces us. It creates boundaries, delineations, demarcations. It shows us where we are on the physical plane in space and time. It forces us or asks us to create boundaries, to create values, systems. And people like to hate on Saturn, but Saturn's really, really helpful. We need need this masculine force to help us create containers, to help us hold and host the chaos of this human experience. You might hear our dog tap dancing in the background. We keep it real here. So Saturn is a theme. Saturn's currently retrograding through Pisces. We've talked quite a bit about Saturn in past and previous episodes, but it is sort of what's holding the chaos of now together. That's how I like to view Saturn's current transits. It's really creating opportunities for us to understand more deeply where we are, what we're experiencing, and it's helping us to compartmentalize, understand, digest the chaos of now. So you'll probably start hearing a lot about something called the Jupiter-Mars conjunction, which is happening on August 14th. And that is, one of the main themes of this week. It's one of the major themes of August, and it's certainly dynamic. And I'll just point out some significant dates for this week to look out for. We have the Mars and Jupiter conjunction in Gemini on August 14th. The same day, Mercury, which is retrograde, pulls back into the last degrees of Leo. On the 16th, Mars officially exactly squares Saturn and really starts to lead us into this massive T-square that we'll be experiencing in two different ways over the next week or two. It also leads us into a very, very dynamic, intense, and karmic full moon in Aquarius on August 19th. I'm going to leave the full moon for the next episode, although I'll be talking a little bit about it now because the energy of it is intertwined with this Mars-Jupiter conjunction. It's intertwined with the T-square that we'll be experiencing this week, and we're already seeing and feeling the energy start to build. I personally have decided to travel to Europe during this very intense and dynamic month. It feels so karmic, so aligned. I did a lot of travel throughout Europe in my 20s and really before I landed in Los Angeles and started this new chapter of my life. And I really haven't been since 2019. So there are significant points and chapters, thresholds completing and beginning in my life with this energy of this month. Some pretty big and powerful integration of the divine masculine, which is something we've been working on this summer collectively, but especially individually. I did a podcast episode with Sierra McDaniel, which we'll be releasing in a few weeks, that really kind of dives into this divine masculine integration, but I will be doing a bit of a pilgrimage while I'm in France and really reconnecting with certain aspects of myself that have really transformed within me. And so it feels like a very significant journey, and I'm excited for that. I will be bringing the podcast along with me, so it will be fun to, I feel like by the 19th, we're going to have some pretty interesting and significant material to go over individually and collectively. So the first major activation we received this week, and this energy honestly has been building because Jupiter moves quite slow. It's been building for a while, but we have the exact conjunction or conjoining of Jupiter and Mars together on August 14th. And this configuration is very distinct. It begins like wildfire. It begins with intensity, with inspiration, expression, and it is very quickly feeling the influence of Saturn squaring. Mars is the planet of drive, passion, war, movement, assertiveness, aggression. Jupiter is the great benefic. It's about luck and abundance, expansion, spirituality, expansion of consciousness. both of these planets want to move, especially in Gemini. There's a tendency with both of these planets in Gemini to rush into things or to act too quickly, to assume, to forget to pace. Mars in its shadow, especially in a sign like Gemini or Aries, has a tendency to rush into war, to rush into conflict, to rush into assuming things. It wants to act, it wants to complete. And this is definitely woven into communication, to relationships, to beliefs, values, the unconscious, our belief systems. Jupiter expands anything it touches. So if we already have this sort of wildfire energy of Mars and Gemini, Mars is fiery, Mars is warlike. In the sign of Gemini, it's like wildfire. That's a lot of what's been adding to the intensity of this month, is this transit of Mars and Gemini. And with Jupiter in the mix, it's almost like pouring gasoline on a fire. And this certainly isn't all shadowy. It's also deeply inspiring. It's inspirational. It's expressive. It's boundaryless. This is a time when we may feel like we're able to move through blocks, where we're able to see our own limitations and transcend them, where we move past thresholds, where we're able to exit the familiar and enter the unknown more easily. Leo is courage and bravery. Mars is courage and bravery. Jupiter's evolutionary purpose is to expand. So these themes will be very present this week and over the next few weeks as we move through this conjunction, as this great T-square, multiple T-squares are happening that involve Mars and Jupiter. The exact conjunction is happening at 16 degrees Gemini. So look at where you have planets or placements at 16 degrees mutable signs. So looking at Pisces and Virgo, Gemini and Sagittarius. Do you have placements there between 12 and 20 degrees of mutable signs? This is an opportunity from really now, from the 12th into the 16th, to work with this wildfire energy, to notice where you have limitations, to not necessarily rush into things, but to simply observe. We are, after all, in the underworld of Mercury, which rules Gemini. So there's a lot of Gemini and Leo themes happening right now. Where are you procrastinating, holding back? Where are you perhaps rushing into things and not grounding and thinking things through and pulling things through your own truth channel? This conjunction is also opposite or opposing the moon, which is in Sagittarius on the 14th. So it's so much around values, beliefs, safety, sovereignty, freedom, expression. Where are you not free? Within your own mind, within your own body. This is, of course, kicking up so much collectively. Mars is the planet of war, and Jupiter is the planet of peace. So this could be either a week of great opportunity for us to collectively find the middle ground, or more than likely it can exacerbate the conflicts we're already experiencing and seeing on the world stage. I wouldn't be surprised if there is significant military action taken this week, or if that energy begins to build more and more. Anytime Mars is involved, it so often is, connected and tied to ego, tied to drive, tied to aggression, conflict, war, both internal and external. Now, this configuration between Mars and Jupiter, this relationship, this energy that's manifesting between the two, is heavily influenced by Saturn. on the 14th, and this energy has been building, right? Conjunctions really start to build within 4 degrees, I think. That's really what I work within, is 4 degrees. So it's been happening and building over the last few weeks. It just becomes exact on the 14th. That's the case with astrology. It's a spectrum, right? And it starts to build to the climax, and then it starts to move away and starts to decrease and integrate and separate. So the energy of this Mars and Jupiter conjunction is being heavily influenced by Saturn in Pisces, which is currently retrograde at 17 degrees. And it's forming this square, or this pressure aspect, with the configuration of Mars and Jupiter together. Mars and Jupiter, like I said, especially in Gemini, like to move really quickly. You might notice that there have been feelings of overwhelm, overstimulation, overthinking since Jupiter entered Gemini in May. Maybe themes around either rushing into things too quickly, or not thinking things all the way through, or really sitting with decisions before acting. And Saturn is a very different energy. Saturn likes to move slowly. It's hesitant. Saturn really demarcates a limit or a boundary. Jupiter wants to expand past those boundaries. So this could bring up themes, especially as we move out of the exact conjunction and into this squaring with Saturn, especially towards the 16th. It really might start to reveal where you are stuck, where you hold anger, frustration, limitations, where you are procrastinating, like I said, where you're rushing into things. Where are you letting your ego, stubbornness, or anger run the show? Can you transcend the inner gridlocks and open to the potentials? This configuration can amplify anger, frustration, overwhelm, anything that is the product of feeling stuck, of feeling unclear. This will highlight wherever you are resisting taking action or moving through something out of fear. Really, the dance of now is figuring out how we can further liberate ourselves while maintaining a healthy dose of grounding, of containment, discernment, and boundaries. This energy can be super helpful in opening up mental blocks. Jupiter is the higher mind, Sagittarius is the higher mind, Gemini can be the energy of spinning out. It can be the lower mind, where we're looping through things. And like I said earlier, don't forget, we are in a Mercury retrograde. We're in the underworld of Mercury. So things are deeply revealing right now. Our belief systems, our mental blocks, communications, relationships, our own sense of inner confidence, all of this is coming to the surface. And this entire journey is about releasing the shadow of these planets, of these signs, and leaning into the light, moving through the higher version of these expressions. This is a really powerful time to journal, to channel write. Just dump your mind onto the page, to clear space. There's a lot of just chatter, mental chatter, looping, noise, static. There's so much happening collectively. There's so much noise. I think that's when I did the 2024 forecast talking about this time, we knew it would be amplified, right? We're in an election season in the US, which really reverberates globally. There's so much noise, there's so much misinformation, and there's so much polarization. Jupiter is really expanding this, amplifying it so we can see it more clearly. So we've been discussing the Mars and Jupiter conjunction, how it relates to Saturn through this square configuration. And because planets move independently of one another, Mars will begin to move away from Jupiter after the 14th and begin to form its exact square with Saturn on the 16th. Further amplifying these feelings of where are we stuck? Where are we limiting ourselves? Where are we restricted, bound to the old ways of doing things, of responding to life, of being? So really leading up to the 16th is more so about the relationship between Mars and Saturn being amplified by Jupiter. And as we move closer to the full moon in Aquarius on the 19th of August, we begin to feel the energy between Jupiter and Saturn taking the front and center stage. And the dance between these two giant planets, the two largest planets, Saturn and Jupiter, is very significant. Every 20 years, Jupiter and Saturn begin a new journey together. We began a new 20-year cycle in December of 2020. And you probably remember that, when Saturn and Jupiter met at 0 degrees Aquarius. That was in so many ways the spark of New Earth. That was such a significant time. I remember imagining those two giant celestial bodies colliding together, creating the spark for New Earth, for new systems, new ways of being and interacting with this physical plane, opening up and transcending the lines between dimensions, transcending what is possible, what we can create. And we are very much entering a checkpoint of this energy, of this process. Every 5 years, a pressure aspect is created between Jupiter and Saturn. And so we're in the first quarter of this new journey. We're at the checkpoint. We're being tested as Jupiter and Saturn square off. And although this isn't happening officially until August 19th, which is outside of our weekly window here, it's something I really want to go into today because it's deeply related to this Mars and Jupiter conjunction that's happening on the 14th. It's woven into the energy of this week. And next week, we will be focusing heavily on the full moon in Aquarius that's happening on the 19th and is very karmic in nature and tied to Mercury and Uranus. It's forming its own T-square outside of this existing T-square configuration between Jupiter, Mars, Saturn, and Venus. So if we're at a checkpoint, we are being tested in some ways. It's a good time to look back and reflect on the seeds you planted in December of 2020. Maybe looking back at your old journals and looking at what you were navigating, what you were experiencing, what you were manifesting or calling in around that time. What was in your consciousness? Because this is a 20-year cycle, which is big and very significant because Pluto is entering in its own new 20-year portal as well in November. And I will say this Jupiter and Saturn transit, this 20-year journey that it initiated in 2020, is deeply tied to Pluto. And as we know, Pluto has been traveling through Capricorn since 2008 for 15 years. It's completing its cycle this November on November 15th officially. And it's been all about breaking down old systems, old ways of being, limitations, constructs, what's no longer working, as Pluto's journey into Aquarius is catapulting us into creation, the creation of new Earth, the creation of a new world with new systems. And that is the exact intention of this Jupiter and Saturn journey that began in 2020 is the creation of new systems. Jupiter is expansion. Like I said, it is moving beyond limitations, old beliefs. It's the expansion of consciousness. And Saturn demarcates limits or boundaries. It's connected to systems and the systems that we create in order to create safety within our lives, which we deeply need in order to grow and expand. So as you can see, Jupiter and Saturn really need each other. We need consistency and safety. We need something that feels grounding and anchoring on the physical plane in order to really grow and expand in a sustained way, in a way that holds the potential of longevity. And Saturn needs Jupiter. Otherwise, it will remain stuck in its own boxes. So the dance between these two planets is so essential in our evolutionary process. And like I said, because this was at 0 degrees Aquarius in 2020, it's deeply tied to the ingress of Pluto into Aquarius, which we're navigating now. Pluto is at 0 degrees Aquarius, so it's touching that same exact point that Jupiter and Saturn touched in December of 2020. So this is a checkpoint. This is a reckoning period. This is an invitation to look at where you still hold beliefs that are no longer serving, where you're holding yourself in chains, limitations, where your boundaries need to be reevaluated. And this is not about obliterating all boundaries or all constructs. This is about finding the balance point between constructs, the physical plane, the anchoring, the grounding that we need as humans, with the ability to free ourselves, to be expansive while grounded. I think in so many ways, the two poles, right? The two existing poles within our collective, one wants no boundaries, no limitations. It wants to be completely free and clear of any sense of boxes or identities. And the other opposing side wants to stay stuck. It wants to stay tethered to the familiar, to what it knows and what it's known. This is really the dance between Jupiter and Saturn. And Pluto is, of course, excavating and digging up all of the shadow that's held between these two polarized forces. We must strike a balance. We must be able to honor our need for familiarity, for safety, for groundedness, while also holding space for different beliefs, opportunities for expansion. This is not about obliterating the other side. This is not about who's right and who's wrong, who is bad or who's evil. If you were villainizing someone or a side or a political party, I invite you into deep reflection. Creating a villain is oftentimes a product of a very young part of us that sees things as black and white running the show. So we're being collectively tested. Thinking back to the themes of 2020 is, that's really when so much of this started to amplify, this polarization, this exposing of the duality, this bifurcation. And that doesn't mean that it's not time to rework the systems, to reinvent the systems, to reveal what isn't working. We must be present with what isn't working while holding space for the fact that our nervous systems and our psyches need comfort and familiarity, safety to fully expand. So this is really a checkpoint for humanity, this Jupiter-Saturn square. And this is the first of 3 that happens within this Jupiter and Gemini transit. We have another happening in December on December 24th, and another happening next June on June 2025. We're titrating these spaces within us. What is our relationship with change once again? What is our relationship with our own limitations, our own boundaries, our values? We must not forget that we all hold different values. We all place more weight on certain things, and that's all a reflection of our own lived experiences, our own soul blueprint, where we've been not just within this life, but others, where we come from. This does not make someone else wrong for having different beliefs, having different values. This simply means that we have to work in a very nuanced way to move through this space of duality, to find a way to support all living beings. This is a very messy space because we all have different views on how that should look, both internally and externally. But what we can control is our internal work, the breaking down of biases. Where are you villainizing something or someone that holds an opportunity for deep reflection? Where you villainize someone is where you're villainizing yourself, where you're fragmenting, where you're pushing away an aspect of you. We'll see themes around expression, individuality, freedom, autonomy, agency, discernment, individuality, ethics, morals, and values continue to be uncovered, excavated within ourselves and collectively. We need conversation. We need to feel safe to talk about these things, to express our beliefs. We need to have the courage to be proven wrong or to change our perspective and our beliefs around something. Basically, we're in a internal and external ego death. Where are you resisting this death? Where are we holding the belief that something is either good or evil, right or wrong? This is a sign that there's work to be done. There's something there that wants to be explored. This is a complex dance through our human consciousness, our evolution. And through this portal of time, it is a massive opportunity to break down your own internal biases, your rigidity, your belief systems that are no longer serving. And this is a message for both sides. Because believe it or not, wherever you lie along the spectrum, if it's really close to one side, there is more than likely an ego death that wants to happen. It's more than likely a sign that there's rigidity, a stronghold on your belief systems. And it doesn't mean you have to overhaul or change or pivot. It just is an invitation to look at where you're holding bias, where you are unwilling to see the other side or explore beyond the ego. This is Jupiter's invitation. This is Saturn's invitation. Finding safety in changing your mind, finding safety in expanding past your existing walls of consciousness. What is no longer working? We are the oldest democracy here in the US. But are we still a democracy? Are we actually operating as one? Are our systems actually supporting the greater good? Throughout this Jupiter and Saturn journey, we will have every 5 years a checkpoint, and we are in it. Harness the opportunity that this week provides, that this month provides. Will yourself to let go of the fear of looking at your own internal biases, your own fears of letting go of what you believe to be true. It doesn't mean you're wrong. It just means that there's an opportunity to explore the other side. I think in so many ways we have forgotten to explore others' perspectives instead of labeling them as evil or bad, villainizing the other. Instead, explore what it would be like to walk a day in their shoes. This is how we transform. We don't transform by staying stuck on our own side within our own boxes we've created through the ego. And this is not just collectively, but this is also internally. Where are we fighting ourselves? Where are we separating out from aspects of us we don't like? This is an invitation of integration. And because we have 2 different T-squares being formed over the next week, this is aspecting all areas of our lives: relationships, beliefs, work, money, values. Let Leo guide you into the heart to find the courage to explore the spaces within yourself that need more light, more love, more expansion. And just to continue on with the theme of Saturn, the divine masculine, the card that I pulled today from the Untamed Elemental deck is the divine masculine card. And it's all about presence. Resonant with electricity and extraordinary skill, divine masculine enlists his perfect mind to gallantly deliver creative instruction. He harmonizes his influence with the divine feminine's untouched omnipresence, giving rise to the exquisite individuality that characterizes all life. The sacred polarity between the divine masculine and divine feminine is responsible for the totality of existence and lives within each of us regardless of how we identify ourselves within our own body. Divine masculine indicates that your full presence is required. By simply aligning your unfractured consciousness with the moment, you supply healing, balancing truths, and conjure new possibilities and outcomes. It is much easier to receive a message from your inner divine masculine wisdom when you anchor your full presence within each moment. Practice this, and you will soon discover a secret. You're a painter of galaxies and legend of the real. When it's balanced, there's harmonious attunement with self, others, and surroundings. When it's imbalanced, cognitive dissonance, lack of connection to the greater world. To bring into balance, remove distractions and become fully present in the moment. Do only one thing at a time. So that seems like an invitation to create more space, to perhaps slow down, to find more presence, which is where we can access our truth. And everything I talked about in this episode is an invitation. You can take it, leave it, release what doesn't resonate, and keep what does. It's simply a little spark. But this is a deeply confronting time and will reveal to us where we are polarized within ourselves and collectively, where we're lacking inner union. Thank you for being here. As always, thank you for your presence, for your time. This is a little bit longer of an episode, and I'm just so grateful for each and every one of you. As always, your shares on social media, your reviews, your ratings help me so much to continue doing this podcast and to get this in front of other people. So thank you, thank you, thank you. I hope you all have a beautiful week.